All right. I got Steve here calling from Nebraska. He, him says there is evidence that dark energy is weakening over time, meaning that the big rip theory / hypothesis is incorrect. So then consequently, our universe very well may escape heat death. So hi, Steve. How you doing?
Yeah, hi, Kelley and Dr. Blitz. Happy weekend, everyone. And thanks for allowing us the opportunity to discuss evidence suggesting dark energy is weakening over time, implying the big rip theory is incorrect. So consequently, then, our universe very well may escape heat death, aka entropy death. So you guys are familiar with a research study titled DESI 2024 Cosmological Constraints from the Measurement of Baryon Acoustic Oscillations. I'm guessing that's probably right up your alley, Dr. Blitz.
Are you looking at the one that came out this past March, or are you looking at the one from the April prior?
2024, I think VI 6 from last year. I think they've come out with data.
So actually, this is big news. In the middle of last March, the DESI report, or the DESI team, Dark Energy Spectroscopy Instrument Team, for anybody who doesn't know, they released their second data, or they released their second set of data, including analysis of the new data. And you're absolutely on the money. The first report, when it first came out, the data on its own was consistent with a constant dark energy. However, when combined with other data like supernova data or like the cosmic microwave background radiation data, it suggested that dark energy could be weakening. In the new data release, which came out again, I should stress, about a month ago, their new data is now consistent with dark energy weakening. And if you combine that data with, again, the same sets of other data like supernova data, cosmic microwave background radiation data, the evidence is even stronger now that dark energy is indeed weakening. You should be a little bit hesitant, though, to draw any conclusions, because we don't have a model to explain what dark energy is actually going to do, right? It's changing. We know that now, or at least that seems to be the case. What it's actually going to do is a little bit of a trickier question to answer.
Okay, so I've also heard, and I don't know maybe if you've heard such a thing, but that dark energy is actually just an illusion of gravitational time dilation. Is that something you've heard? That it might not even be real. It might just.
I'm familiar with the claim. So there's an Australian, or maybe he's a Kiwi. There's a physicist and a few of his students who have been talking about this model called the timescape cosmology model for a good while. I think he first put it forward in the early 2000s, and it was kind of fringe. And then I guess last year, he and his team, I think most of whom were former students, did a new analysis of a particular data set, which is a particularly common cosmological data set that's used to analyze different models, called Pantheon Plus, I think is the data set he used. It's supernova data. And said, hey, look, this model that we have, where instead of having an expanding universe, an accelerating expansion in the universe, it's instead just a kind of a trick of time dilation. This model actually better predicts the data that we see in this Pantheon Plus model, Pantheon Plus data set, than the standard cosmological model. And that might be true. I briefly looked at the paper a while ago, but I would just caution anyone from drawing any conclusions from a model that relies on only a single data set. If it's the case that this model is consistent with other data sets as well, great, we have a better model. But as far as I know, they haven't checked anything against other big or other different data sets that need to be checked against.
Okay, so are you more of a fan of timescape cosmology, or are you more of a fan of the cosmological constant cold dark matter model? Which model more accurately represents how our universe is structured? Which would you consider to be a better model?
I think timescape is probably flawed. There's an underlying assumption there that I just think is incorrect, and I could go into the detail of it, but I don't think it's relevant. The point is that there is a like an unorthodox assumption about how general relativity behaves that's required to make timescape cosmology work. I just don't think it's a good assumption. And while the cosmological constant lambda CDM model it might not be right. It at least seems more right than timescape because it doesn't seem to violate like our kind of the standard assumptions that we get in general relativity.
Okay, so what if the apparent acceleration of the universe's expansion is a result of how time and distance are perceived in different gravitational environments? You really wouldn't need a mysterious dark energy to explain that, would you?
It depends. It really depends on the model. As far as I'm aware, the trouble with the timescape models, it's basically impossible to actually sit down and do explicit computations because the systems of equations get way too complicated, way too fast. So my understanding is that you essentially have to use heuristics. So it might be the case that you can figure out like some initial condition or some data set that will allow you to get rid of dark energy, but I'm just not sure if it works. But yeah, I mean, like if it is correct, and I'll eat my hat, and I'll be happy to work on understanding, this new kind of unorthodox assumption.
Okay, so what if there is dark energy and it is indeed weakening over time? So eventually, the universe's expansion, the acceleration is going to slow down, right, to a point where it may actually be no longer expanding, and it's even possible, right, that the universe could then collapse in on itself. But then what if it gets to a point of a near singularity and then it rebounds? And like, what if our universe is like eternally cyclical and like was always here? Would that kill the Kalam cosmological argument? Would that mean
yes.
that that's wrong?
Yeah, well,
would that prove that?
It would at least make you think that you probably shouldn't take it seriously. What a promoter of the Kalam argument would say is they say, well, just because it might be infinite into the future, or just because there may have been prior instances of this, doesn't mean that it's infinite in the past. But of course, that would be kind of silly. If we know it'll go through a cycle forever into the future, then now you have good reason to think that it's cyclic forever into the past as well. I think that people would have significantly less bites, let's say, for the Kalam cosmological argument, because no longer could you say, well, but there was a Big Bang and therefore there was a beginning. Like, it just wouldn't work anymore.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see what pans out on this, and maybe we'll never know what was before the Big Bang. I mean, that's
maybe we will not. Absolutely.
So, but we can come up with some good guesses. Good pre-bang cosmology, maybe of some kind someday. So,
I mean, look, that's what me and my colleagues are trying to do. We do our best.
Oh yeah, you guys keep up the good work. Hey, thanks for taking my call.